y'all, and welcome
Hello.
back to another episode of Cocktails and Crimes. And tonight we're going to be doing the part two of Christian Andreacchio out of Meridian, Mississippi. And tonight, once again, I have my wonderful co host over here, Anne from Lost Common Sense and Unexplained Realms. And we're so thankful that she has stepped in and helped us out during, sometimes we're actually quite possibly going to be changing our nights from Thursday to another night of the week. And hopefully in the next week or so, our other wonderful co host, Elaine, who we are so ready to come back, will be joining us. So, getting all of that good stuff out of the way. I also want to
Let's
give a huge
oh,
shout out to and a birthday shout out to our good friend Clay Edwards over at the Clay Edwards Show and Save Jackson podcast. Happy birthday, buddy.
yay,
Wish
happy
you
birthday.
well, and I love you very much. Hope your day was absolutely fantastic. So,
Let's take a
yeah.
look at this really cool graphic I just threw together real quick, but I think it's so cute. It's not cute, it's suiting for the show, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
for this episode.
I love it.
Yep.
And that
Um,
is, ladies and gentlemen, that is a topo.
yep.
That's that is what Christian worked on
Hmm.
in the
Yep.
Mississippi River,
Yep.
and um, yeah. So actually, that's a tug. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I just
but
remember that
no,
he was it was kind of his dream,
yeah.
something he really, really wanted to do. So kind of inspirational to create that graphic. Anyway, speaking of graphics, I think it's safe to now announce that we have a merch line. You can get sweatshirts, t-shirts, cups, all with the different logos that we have. I'm gonna just throw them a few of them up here if I can find them.
And I just want to make this very known. It would not be possible without her. She is
Oh,
literally
stop.
been my lifesaver. She's gotten us way further than we expected from the beginning. So
Well,
I really appreciate it. Thank you very
look,
much.
you're welcome. But look forward to these graphics on hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops, cups, mugs, shot glasses. There's one, and then number two. I have a couple more coming soon, but there's another one. So kind of fun criminal
I love
cocktail kind of
that
stuff.
one. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
So fun stuff there. Um, so something to look forward to. Follow the socials. What? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and working on getting our TikTok up and going.
Yeah,
That one's
yeah.
a little slow. I'm horrible at
Mhm.
socials, so
Right.
um,
Oh,
thankfully,
don't forget YouTube. YouTube. We're
oh,
on
YouTube,
YouTube.
yeah,
So,
hop over, follow us on
guys,
YouTube.
go
Um,
subscribe to us on YouTube. I think that if
and we are
everybody
on
really.
Spotify and
Mhm.
Apple Podcasts as well.
Yep.
Um,
Oh,
all
we're
anywhere
on
you can listen to a
Google
podcast,
Podcast,
Google
Breaker,
Podcasts as
Apple.
well.
Yep. Oh, Amazon Music, guys. We're on Amazon Music. So
Yeah, we're
if
we're
you
pretty
don't.
much branching out to everywhere that you can actually listen to us jibber jabber.
If you don't want to watch these videos or the lives, then you can definitely put us in your headphones or on the radio and listen to us audio wise. So,
Absolutely,
um,
and we love it, and we are so
mhm,
thankful for all the support that we have gotten on this, and I would love to give a shout out to the Andreacchio family for being really supportive. The guest that we're gonna have next week is actually really close and really, really close to the family, and, we've gotten their blessing to continue to do and talk about Christian's case. So I'm super thankful for that. Thank you to the family. They've been through enough. They definitely deserve some peace and closure
absolutely.
on all of this. Um,
But
but
like
now that I
we,
think we've,
but like we explained to the guest, we're not nice over here. So
yeah,
I'll call it as we see it. Just saying. Um,
yeah. But I think without further ado, let's get into it. So we're gonna start off with our traditional what cocktail will we be having tonight, and I decided on a whim, standing behind my bar, I wanted to make something a little more summery So I decided to go with the Queen of Hearts.
Ooh.
Raspberry
Mhm.
vodka, strawberry gin, soda water, mint leaves, a sugar cube, and splash of water. So what you're going
Ooh.
to do is you're going to muddle that sugar cube with your water and your mint, really break that up in your shaker, add your ice, and then add one shot of raspberry vodka, one shot of strawberry gin, um, muddle up some fresh raspberries as well. Sorry, I meant to say that. I don't know how I left that out.
Mhm.
A little splash of simple syrup in there will really bring it together. Um, Strain and top with soda water, and you're good to go.
There you go.
And it's one of my favorites, if you cannot tell by the size of my cup.
An amazing summer drink. I like the ones
It
that are
is.
super refreshing like
I
that,
love
you know?
minty drinks. I really
Mhm.
do.
Especially during the summer, yeah.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so, because tonight our guest had some things come up, and we're kind of having to go a little bit more, I guess you could say, more in depth. So on this part two, I really want to talk about, we left off on the last one um
There you go.
with, of course,
They
rar.
are cute ears.
Um but we left off on the last one where we were talking about the like GSR testing and the fingerprints and things like that. So I really kind of want to like go ahead and let's go ahead and touch back. For anybody who hasn't been here already, Christian Andreacchio was 21 years old, um, from Meridian, Mississippi. So this happened just right up the road. He was murdered. I don't think anybody can agree that this is a suicide, but he was murdered February 26, 2014 in his apartment. Um, and the police actually only did a 40-minute investigation and deemed it a suicide, and kind of was like, yep, we're just going to move on with our life. Now, I have watched a ton of podcasts on this one. I've listened to a ton of podcasts on this one. And I'm telling you
You
now,
you
when
have
I
a
first went
comment.
into it, yes, huge shout out. My husband bought me a new mic to, because he loves me.
Cute. Mm.
Um, but when I first went into this, like you and I've said 100 times, we go into this like completely unbiased, and
Right.
this is one that I went in completely unbiased and was like, you know what, I'm just gonna absorb, and I'm gonna listen to everything, and I'm gonna form my own opinion. And within probably 20 minutes, I was like, what the fuck? There's
Right.
just no way that this
Mm.
is what is going on. And I would like to state that in the mix of all of this stuff going on with Christian's case, the chief of police in Meridian was actually fired, which you can Google that for yourself, for a list of reasons and making like hostile work environment for his employees and
So
multitude of things.
can you imagine if, he actually was just this, dismissive kind of chief, walked into
Oh,
the
he
scene and
was.
said, I don't want to research it.
He did.
Can you
He
imagine?
pretty much, and even when Ray and Todd actually went to meet with him, I mean, he pretty much was just like, go fuck yourself. Like he was
Yeah,
very
basically.
dismissive to them. And so that actually is what spawned them to end up hiring these outside investigators and these different people, because they knew they were absolutely going to get nowhere. Um, Obviously
Mhm.
dealing with the city of Meridian or Lauderdale County. So,
Right.
we've talked about in the last one, just kind of like a recap. Christian was laid over a tub, and none of this makes any sense. The blood spatter, the lack thereof, the placement of the weapon, and then they interview his girlfriend, Shitley Goodman. For you that don't actually know, her name is Whitley Goodman, but that's Shitley. Um,
Mm,
so now we're gonna jump into like the interviewing of the friends and family. There she is.
yeah.
Now understand that like when they went into this and they were like making the decision about whether this was like a death or a suicide or homicide, whatever. Um, police will talk to friends and family and kind of get an idea of that person's life, their state of mind. This wasn't done at all in Christian's case. None. Uh, Willie and Dylan were asked maybe a couple of questions, but that's kind of it. And then Taylor Dial, which is Christian's best friend, who could have spoken on him better than Dylan or Willie? Um, the Andreacchios were never asked. His co-workers, his brother who actually lived in the apartment, they all lived together.
Mm.
They didn't talk to no one. I mean, they literally just walked in and was like, "Oh, it's a suicide. Let's go home." And
Oh, we have a new name for her, Methley.
Methley. Well, I have a wonderful picture of old Dylan Swearingen that I can't
Oh,
wait to
really?
show. Yeah,
Oh,
you're gonna
you'll have.
love it. You're gonna love
Mhm.
it.
We have
Um,
some of her older, or what I think like not older, but newer mugshot type.
oh yeah, we have a whole montage of Shitley
Yeah,
mugshots.
yeah.
Her character is absolutely. I don't see why anybody could ever question her character. I don't understand. Oh yeah, that's what we call drugs. Um,
Mhm.
so let's talk about the placement of the gun and the bullet. We're going to touch on that a little bit more. I kind of want to just catch everybody up to speed that wasn't here before. Christian is right-handed or was right-handed. The gun was found between his left thigh and the tub that he was leaned into. So he's on his knees, like leaned into the tub, like his head's in the tub and his upper body. Like he almost looks like he would be given like a dog, a bath kind of
Mhm.
position. Um
Yep, she's a winner. That
and
comment.
true
Yeah.
story.
Hmm.
And even more questionable in all that is that the gun was manually decocked. And I know this for a fact. I'm a huge Kimber fan, and that's what supposedly was used with a Kimber. They don't manually decock.
No, they don't.
So they don't automatically, you have to manually do that. And so how did he shoot himself right-handed, but the gun go to the left side, but it also manually decocked, on a gun that doesn't do that. Um, and he had time to do all of that with no blood spatter at all.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and it was,
that part is the thing that kills me, no matter what. No
yeah,
blood spatter. Yeah.
the recoil itself from that particular pistol um, would have sent it to the right. Like it would, if it had gone this way, it wouldn't have gone this way.
Right. The
Um,
recoil, definitely. The kick of it would have sent it the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, and the bullet was found in the tub, and the bullet had been found to have like drywall on it. So, but it was a through and through in Christian's head, meaning the bullet went somewhere after it left Christian's body. Like it had to go somewhere. It didn't just go in and then fall down. Like it and it's noted, and in some of the pictures for the next show when we have our guest, there is a bullet hole in the bathroom wall by the light switch, but the
And
bullet
I
was found
have
in the
that for
tub.
you. There you
Exactly.
go.
So you see, there's and then this lights or this electrical socket is nowhere close to the bathtub. I just want to make that
And
clear.
I have a picture of that. So this is
Exactly.
one version of where he was. So the electrical socket that you're describing is on the other side of the bathroom. So
Yes.
doesn't make
And
sense.
then it's shown that all three people um in the apartment. So they're like, all right, we're gonna do a GSR test.
Oh,
Okay.
hello,
Hey
Joni.
Joni. I need to get with you. I forgot
Mhm.
yesterday. I'm sorry.
Oops.
Um,
Oopsie.
but it was so the cops like, we're gonna do a GSR test, which is a gunshot residue test, which will show if you have handled or fired a firearm. Now, here's the thing: as soon as the cops say we're gonna do a GSR test, Whitley automatically jumps up and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna test positive." Uh, what? And
Right.
miraculously, with all of this craziness going on, okay, miraculously, she chose the night before to just conveniently go to what Culpable podcast now calls gun night. She
Right.
supposedly went out shooting the night before, didn't wash her hands, didn't shower, nothing.
You know what's so
After she was
funny about
banging Matt
right.
Miller before she came home. So like
Yeah.
you
What's
just
so
okay,
funny
so you're
about that
nasty too. Got
yeah,
it.
well, yeah, we kinda knew
I
that
mean,
though.
we know that. Like
We knew that. What's
um
interesting about that gun night or whatever, that's what Culpable calls it, but I mean, you call it
yes.
whatever. Um, the interviews in that one and then other things that have come out, the stories changed so much from the
Oh
people
my
that
god.
were at the supposed shooting guns. And,
I
you know,
have
like
literally written down every one of them, and it's a stack of paper this thick. I'm not even kidding.
right, and I can't understand, like, why, why do you keep changing the story? What really happened there? Oh,
Sorry, my camera kind of like leaned. I don't know what happened.
uh,
Awesome! I'm super excited. Joni makes the best brittle in the world, and I'm going to get
ooh,
some from her. I'm
yummy.
super excited.
Ooh. But anyway, Jet changed his story, Matt changed his story. Um, Whitley, she never actually changed her story for that
Oh
night. It was
no, she
always I
changed. Well,
shot a
no,
gun.
yeah, that
It
night.
was
So
always
she
I
didn't
shot a
change
gun.
that part of her story,
Hmm.
but everything else has changed
Oh
over
yeah,
and over and over numerous times.
right.
And
But what's
um,
funny is that particular night wouldn't even be connected to Christian other than because Whitley said I have gunpowder. You know what I mean? If she had never said that, no one from that night would have ever been involved. No one
no,
ever
and
would
that's
have.
the thing, she
That's
drugged so many people into and so here's
so
the thing. Now you have this whole gun night. They supposedly went shooting the night before, so she knows that she's gonna test positive because
mm,
she fucked Matt Miller while her boyfriend that she loves so much is working his ass off, and she's riding around with this dude that she's cheating on him with in Christian's car, spending his money. And she goes to this gun night with Matt and his cousin Jet Miller. And now here's what's crazy. So in the first thing that said, um, everybody was like inconsistent on if she did or didn't shoot. Really
mm,
adamant that she did, but Matt and Jet Miller, both cousins, first said nope, she never ever shot.
yeah, they both did. It was weird.
And
And then
then
they just both
later,
kind of changed their stories.
yeah, so Matt has stayed firm. She did not shoot this pistol.
Mm,
Jet, on the other hand, who says absolutely not, now comes back and says, um, she shot it like 4 times. Now you told the first time that she didn't, and now you're saying that she did. Matt says, and his statement to the cops were, and this is how he transcribed it. I specifically asked Whitley if she wanted to shoot. She said no because she is terrified of guns. And she sat in Matt's lap all night long and never
mm.
shot. Now Jet's like,
Then
yes,
I
she
heard
did.
another version of that where she sat in his lap and he later says years later, I don't I didn't shoot the gun either because she was sitting in
Yes.
my lap and I covered her ears. So just
So
all the strangest thing ever cuz I mean, if none of them had anything to do with it outside of Whitley, I'm sorry, if somebody dragged me into some horrific crime, I'd roll over on them in a heartbeat like, "Nope, I
baby,
wasn't
I
there.
will
She
sing
did
like a
this is what happened."
songbird.
I would be like,
I am
"Yes,
gonna
she
tell
shot the gun,"
everything.
or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't be covering for anyone. I don't understand why. And these poor people, I mean, I guess you shouldn't say poor people. All
Yeah.
of them, Matt, Jed, all of them. Um, I don't even know how to describe this, but they're all in some ways at fault because if they know something and they're sitting on it all these years later, I really don't feel bad for the media that attention that's come to them. They're very
No,
uncomfortable with
absolutely
the
not.
attention at this point, but oh well, speak up,
Uh,
say
Not my
something.
problem.
Mm-mm.
Sorry, I
I
don't feel
I
sorry for
heard
you.
I heard another story. I think it was on the one podcast Culpable, and then there's a couple of other places that interviewed the people she was staying with. Whitley was staying with in what is it? Keys. What is it that? I just lost my thought on the town. in Florida where she was staying.
Oh, Key West, yeah.
Yeah, Key West. I couldn't think of the name. But basically, the one of the roommates, the boyfriend, had said she ran out of the apartment screaming and sat in the middle of the street because she heard somebody talking bad about her or something like that. And it just kind of and she was swaying in the middle of the street, and it gives
Oh,
you a real
dramatic
big
much?
visual of what this young woman, what's happening up there.
Yeah.
He was on the phone with her, with someone, and I think she heard her name and they were kind of chatting. And he's like, the next thing you know, she's in my face screaming. I yell back. She runs out the house, sits in the street, and is just like rocking. And, I mean,
Wow. I
dramatic.
don't
So
think I actually got to that one. I mean, I'm not
it's
shocked
a couple
though.
different places because I mean everybody's interviewing these people. So
Oh,
I do
yeah.
feel bad for those people that are like his parents and anybody that's ever roommated with Whitley, and people are
Oh,
coming for him.
aren't
The
you
other one
oh,
that I found very interesting, and this is circulating around as well in the podcast circuit, is Whitley's friend, the best friend or whatever, her statements to the police a couple months after it all happened said something about she admitted she did it. It was an accident. It was all just like a mechanical accident, something like that, like just a horrific accident. Like
see,
it wasn't
there's
meant to happen. And that
really
never nothing ever went where with that. This young woman is actually on record with the police department. Like you hear her voice. So it's not like it's hearsay or
yeah.
she said something to someone. You hear her in a recording discussing it. And I thought, why didn't that go anywhere?
Uh,
Like,
well, okay, I mean, you're we've already talked about the bullet, the gun, and all this. Let's talk about the fact there. Why did Dylan Swearingen have GSR on him? And also, why are there no fingerprints
right.
on this gun?
So
Why
that's
are there
kind of
no
where I
why are there
wanted to
no
go.
fingerprints?
Mm,
Not
I
even
wanted to go a
Christian's, who
little
supposedly is
more.
the one that, pulled the trigger.
Yep, I wanted to go a little bit more into the surrounding people, just like,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. So, like,
Dylan
that
and yeah.
goes, Dylan Swearingen and Whitley are BFFs before Dylan and Christian,
Mhm,
are friends and before they're together. And, it just seems like this becomes like the psychotic fucking trio when you have
mhm,
Dylan, Whitley, and Jet Miller and you put them together. And it just becomes like the psychotic fucking trio of,
right.
bullshit.
It did feel odd that, during the whole situation with Christian that Dylan was just there with Whitley, just there. And I
Just
think I
there.
remember hearing Christian's mom talk about Whitley and Dylan just being like two peas in a pod. But I mean, again, anybody surrounding this, and I'm not talking about law enforcement, like all these kids, or they aren't kids anymore, but they were at the time, all of them knew what was going on. You can't tell me you didn't know Dylan and Whitley were like this, stuck together, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And no one's saying anything. I mean, what are they afraid
Exactly.
of? Like, what is her friend's name? I can't remember. Is it Dallas or something like that?
I can't
I
remember.
can't
I have it
remember, but
written
she's
down
the one that
somewhere.
they're off and on. She actually was living in Key West with her. They both went out there to
Start a
they
new
were
life.
cocktail waitress, yeah, start a
Yeah.
new life, whatever. But they were
I read all
on
that.
and off. So
Um, and what's so crazy is like, with going into that and then talking about Whitley's character in all of this, the lack of blood spatter and all of that. And then weirder on all of that. So obviously Whitley's words are just like her story changes nonstop, right? And um both Whitley and Dylan said they opened the door, but then when the blood spatter was examined by the experts that the Andreacchios hired,
mhm,
um, there was spatter on the outside of the door, and on the stairs was there was someone that mentioned on the stairs. I actually have a copy of the report that I want to look at. I don't remember if it did say on the stairs. I think it did. But um, they both said that they opened that bathroom door, and like, so who opened the door? Did y'all like hold hands and open it together?
Right? Oh no, she was sleeping, remember? Um, he's
Just to
gonna
let you
pass
all.
the doc that is in question.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
gonna have a
that
good
would
picture.
be awesome to get us a picture. Mhm.
Um, so you have all of this um different story of who opened the door. Yeah. So then there's Whitley has told multiple different stories about who found Christian. First, she was asleep and she just slept through. Let me tell you something. You are not sleeping through a
No,
fucking
no. So
45
I
going
mean,
off in a 700 square foot
right.
apartment. I don't care
So
who you are.
I obviously, I mean, I don't think viewers know much about me, but I work in housing in my day world and I travel a lot, and different dwellings that I've stayed in or I are part of me. One particular place that I'm regularly staying at during my day job is 650 square feet. It's a small little apartment. It's cute. It's where I stay when I'm working, whatever. However, my 14-year-old used to live there with me, and you make one tiny sound, it sounds like something hit the wall. So there's
Yeah.
no way, I mean, there's no way a gunshot of 45 would go off in that small of a space, and even the neighbors wouldn't hear it, you know what I mean? So
Exactly. And the neighbors
unless
did say that they heard something.
Mhm.
That wasn't ever talked about.
I
Which
don't know how drugged out she might have been though,
Well, she
if
said
she
she was
heard
just
it.
drugged out on Xanax bars and passed out, and at first she was passed out in the bed, then she said she was on the couch,
Mhm.
and, there's an inconsistency of I mean, at this point, was she sleeping on the stairs? I don't even know anymore. But then on top of that, it appears that Christian's body was moved, um, and it was explained different once again by Whitley and Dylan.
Mm.
Whitley says
He
that
hugged him,
Dylan
whatever.
Well, see,
Mhm.
Whitley says that Dylan moved Christian because he went through his pockets looking for money. Dylan said Whitley moved him going into his pockets for cigarettes.
Right.
I just,
But then
I want to,
later she said in some report, I think it was a police report somewhere I saw, she said she hugged him. Said, "Oh
yeah.
no,
Then
not
there,
my Christian." But with that said, anybody
but
going through anybody's pockets, where's the blood on them?
that's what I was going to say. So they were never photographed. So we don't actually know if there was any blood on either one of them. But let's be really clear here. If my boyfriend or best friend, you know, um unalives themselves, I'm not going to go through their pockets looking for fucking cigarettes or
I'm gonna be
money.
so distraught. I won't
I'm
be
not
able
gonna
to
be able
function.
to, like, get my
No.
shit together, but she like, one says, "Oh, I went through the pockets looking for money," one says, "I went through it looking for cigarettes." What kind of people are you? You're going a dead guy, you're going through a dead guy's pockets looking for his money and cigarettes. What the fuck is wrong with you?
A really poor moral character there, so
And then so in the realm of this whole blood spatter thing, after Christian's body's removed at the apartment and the apartment's opened back up, um, the Andreacchios did their own kind of like evidence collection. So anything they found that seemed kind of important, they took straight to the police. And they found a bloody knife that was tested and found to not have Christian's blood on it. And they found a bloody t shirt that was stuffed behind the toilet in the same bathroom, which means a one bathroom
mhm.
apartment. Um, and they took it. But from what I'm
Mm,
gathering, that just vanished. It just they lost it. That evidence is now lost or gone, and nobody knows
yeah.
where it's at. Um, so first off, I the fact that when this is all said and done and they've moved Christian's body and this, that, and the other, uh, Josh, Christian's brother, had to clean up everything.
I
And I would
know.
just like to say
Mm,
to the Meridian Police Department for not contacting Trauma Clean as they're supposed to, fuck you. Okay.
right?
Like, that's horrible. No family should ever, ever have to do that. Period. I just can't even. But
Is there not a really high murder rate there? Maybe perhaps they
mm,
just didn't know
oh fuck yeah, there is.
what the hell. Oh,
And
okay. I
trauma,
don't know.
you
I'm
have
in
trauma
California.
point,
Yeah,
girl.
we're like,
You have
it's bad
fuck yeah.
over here. So,
Well,
yeah.
it's not any better here. We're the murder capital in Jackson, so we're doing
Mm.
great over here in Mississippi. Um,
Hmm.
but then we're gonna get into their statements. So the Andreacchios do their own investigation of like evidence collection because the cops were like bunch of Barney Fives. And the statements have so many amounts of details and they're just like so different from each other. Now they're at the apartment together, right?
Mm.
And Whitley agreed. Then Whitley says, "Oh yeah, Dylan opened the bathroom door," and then would say in a text message later on, Dylan never even went upstairs. And she says she opened the door and cried and held Christian's hands. And in Dylan's statement, not only did he say that he opened the bathroom door, he says he had to wake Whitley up and tell her that Christian was dead. And then Dylan's statement, he told the detectives that he had listened to the fight
Mm.
with Christian and Whitley when they got to the apartment. And he told the detectives that the argument had gotten so heated that Christian was yelling at her, "Do you love me?" Just like
So
repeatedly screaming it at her.
there were some text messages, and I really just didn't know if I wanted to put them up because I really didn't want to go too far into this one because it's could be far fetched. But there were some texts that came from Christian the night before where they were kind of nah. I mean, I would say they could seem suicidal, but it more sounded like just fighting between young people. I mean, why don't we just end it all kind of thing? But there was a lot of misspelled words in there, and it wasn't in the
Yes.
style of Christian, the normal vibe of him
Yes.
texting. So I wondered if there was anything there with that. Like, I know that police and authorities dismissed that initially when
Yes.
it was brought forward, but I did wonder, was there something more there? I mean, could there have been any value there to that? Could
Now,
they have gotten his phone? I mean, we know Whitley had his phone after he passed, so you know.
um, also, I want to say we're going into the phone thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to touch on this. This is like a timeline, okay? So I have this timeline that trust me, you're gonna want this. So at 11:23 is the first ping from Christian's phone at Willow Ridge Apartments. Okay. At 11:38, there is a text from his coworker to Christian. Christian doesn't respond. At 11:42 a.m., Dylan texts Christian's phone. Now, Dylan texts Christian's phone, find out
Mm-hmm.
where he works. That was at 11:42. 11:43 to 12:01. Whitley used her burner phone to text Matt. She is asking for him to come get her because Christian is on his way home to kick her out. Now, Christian was already there at 11:23. At 12:27, Dylan is on the phone um, for a 9-minute long phone call um, with I don't remember who, but Dylan also inside the bank with a timestamp showing that he was on the phone while inside. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then 12:36 to 12:43 text and calls between Dylan and Christian's phone. No proof that it was Christian he was actually talking to, but Dylan
True.
asked about going in the bank. He had already been to the bank. Then
Mm-hmm.
at 1:32
We
there's a
have
phone
that.
call.
So there's
Yes.
the
And there's
actual
the timestamp
CCTV.
on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
And at 1:32 there is a phone call to Matt Miller from Christian's phone. Then at one between 1:50 and 3:21 p.m., there's absolutely no activity on Dylan, Whitley, or Christian's phone. Now, here's the thing. Remember, Dylan says, Oh, we ate Chick-fil-A, I went to the bank, we watched a movie, we watched another movie, yada, yada, yada. But I left again and I went to Best Buy. Okay. Now, there's a problem with that statement because from 1:50 to 3:21 p.m., there is no activity on Dylan Whitley or Christian's phones. But
Mhm.
all three phones have pinged at Willow Ridge Apartments when Dylan got back from Chick-fil-A in the bank until they
Right.
left at 6 p.m., which
Mm.
means that Dylan never went to Best Buy about these
And,
imaginary
like, there was
speakers.
actually at the time no one that could corroborate that he was there. Many people said, "Well, yeah, we've seen him in the store before, but we can't tell you." Like, nothing
Exactly.
stuck out to them that he was there that day. So
Now,
now, years later, someone supposedly comes forward, but he also works for the police department now. So,
yeah, well,
you know,
now at
yeah.
3:44 p.m., several calls are made to Matt's phone from Christian's phone again. And there's also calls made to Dylan's phone, Jet's phone, and there's text saying answer to Matt from Christian's phone. And then at 4:45, 911 is called. That is the timeline. Like that is a whole timeline of pings on a phone. And I don't care who you are, that
Mhm.
doesn't lie. Okay. That
No.
is solid, hardcore proof and evidence that there's some fishy shit going on. Why would Dylan be calling Matt Miller, or why would Whitley be calling Matt from Christian's phone? Why would she say he's on his way to kick me out if Christian is already fucking home? Unless, oh, we needed something to cover our asses, right?
Of course, yeah.
Now, I've read through a ton of timelines and text messages and all the different things with their phones, and none of the lack of evidence or the lack of investigation done with the amount of evidence and the lack that they collected or looked into. But the fact that the phone pings and shows that Dylan never left that fucking apartment. Dylan never went to Best Buy. He never left Willow Ridge
Mm-mm.
apartment. But now
No.
Taylor Dial, which is Christian's best friend, when he showed up, remember, Dylan went to Chick-fil-A to get everybody food, right? If there are three people in the apartment and three people are eating Chick-fil-A and you order three meals, and I don't know how many people have been to Chick-fil-A, but I go there a lot. Every meal comes in a separate bag so you're not sorting out who's and what, right? Every Chick-fil-A does that. Uh there was one bag of food, and when Taylor Dial arrived, he said that the food was cold and it was on the table or the counter or wherever it was, but none of it had been eaten. None of it.
Mm.
That is nothing more. The Chick-fil-A thing was nothing more than a way to be like, "Oh,
A timestamp. It
it
was a
was a yeah,
timestamp.
it was
Like, yeah,
exactly
let
what
me
it
go
was."
here to show that I was somewhere. I'm not really gonna eat it though. And I wanna take that into the next topic. I think we briefly touched on it in the last episode, but where there's belief that he was dead for a lot longer than, what Whitley and Dylan are saying,
Oh,
there was
absolutely.
yeah,
So,
I
when the Christian's family said, "Mm-mm, no, absolutely not. Um,
mhm,
this is bullshit."
right.
So they start looking into it, and Dr. Jonathan Arden, who is one of the absolute top in the world, this man has got, I
Mm,
want to say like 3,000 or more autopsies under his belt. He's got he's been a witness in thousands of cases. He's
mhm.
testified in thousands. He was
The
on the
what, forensic
anthrax case.
pathologist?
Yes,
Isn't
Dr.
he? Yeah.
Jonathan Arden. He is the leading,
Mhm,
I mean, this man is like top notch. And in his report, he says in his report, he completely contradicts everything that was said because um he states that uh he was in advanced rigor mortis
Right. Mhm.
and that there's no way he was left like that and that's where he was. His body was clearly moved. His
Mm.
summary actually states the death scene was staged. The position of the
Mm.
gun between his left thigh and the outside of the tub is inconsistent with him having shot himself in the
Mm.
right temple. Um, he goes on to say that he would have lost consciousness and purposeful motor activity immediately, so the gun would have dropped to his right side and probably into the tub.
Mm.
He would have not been capable of wedging it between his thigh and the tub, much less on the opposite side of his body.
Right.
He would have had it would have had to have been
So
placed there.
here he is, and he's pretty well known in his industry. So
Absolutely.
I don't know how anybody, I don't know how this hasn't been busted wide open. There are many detectives, many doctors, just many professionals overall saying this is not right. So is it just stubbornness by the authorities? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, and
Um,
on top of that, so he
oh, we have a
says he goes
question
further
here.
on. What we got?
What time did the neighbors say they heard a
Um,
gunshot?
the neighbor said it was early, but I don't remember them giving an exact time. Now, once again, Dr. Arden goes on to say that the forensic evidence indicates that the time of death was earlier than it was reported. Um, and in order for Christian to have gotten into the stage of rigor that he was at,
Hmm. So
it would have been
one report. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but one report to answer that question said that the call came in at like 4:45 or so, 4:44, something like that. But a neighbor reports hearing a gunshot between 12 and 12:30 that day.
mhm,
So yeah, 12 to 12:30. But 911 didn't call 911 until 4:44 p.m.
exactly.
So
So I
that
believe that
tells
he
you
was
right there. Yeah.
obviously that just tells you right there.
Right.
The ballistics evidence is also inconsistent with him having shot himself there. Um, the 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 long laundry
Hmm.
list of things in this particular
So
case.
so we know for a fact. Okay, I'm just gonna question because something crossed my mind. I keep going back and forth with their gun night where she was out shooting guns at these guys, and I keep thinking, why is that such a secretive thing? Why isn't, again, like I said earlier, if my friends pulled me into some drama like this, I will roll over on them like, nope, you
Girl,
you I wasn't involved. You were all doing this. I was not.
I'm gonna
Right. I'm
sing, I'm
telling him
gonna tell
everything.
anything.
So my wonder is, was Christian anywhere nearby on gun night? Could he have been off that boat? Maybe he was shot there.
I
Maybe
wondered
that's
that
why they keep it
until
hushed. I'm
boat
just speculating, not, we don't have facts here. I'm just,
yeah, the only
but I'm
reason
wondering.
I don't think that that's even an option is because Boat Mama says
Yeah.
that Christian told her that he was getting off the boat, and she was like, I don't think that's a good idea, but,
Mhm.
boys will be boys kinda thing." Um, the time frame, and Christian's phone pinged at the apartment that morning at 11:23. That
Well,
was the
yeah, but
first ping at the
doesn't
apartment.
mean that. Oh, okay. So, yeah, his phone was on. I
Um,
just don't believe he was shot there. I mean, if
I
maybe
do
possibly, but like,
I
I
believe that he
mean,
was shot in that apartment, but let me tell you what I think. This
mhm,
is the theory that I've held on to since we started looking into this one. I believe that they got to the apartment at 11:23 as his phone shows. I believe they walked in. I believe a struggle ensued because I believe wholeheartedly that there were already two people in that apartment waiting for Christian, and Dylan walked in behind him, and I wholeheartedly believe that Christian a struggle did ensue, but I believe that Christian was pistol whipped, and I do believe that he was shot. And I honestly have
And
my theory on who pulled the
mhm.
trigger, but I think
Oh,
that two held him down and one pulled the trigger.
we both know who pulled the trigger. Wait, I'm just gonna show the picture of who I think pulled the trigger. There's your gunman.
And
There's your
there's
gunman.
our contestant. And the
Positive,
thing is
positive.
I have said because of a statement, and I wish I could remember exactly what podcast or article I read it in or whatever,
Mm,
um, in all of this, but the neighbor saw someone leaving the apartment,
I remember
and
that.
the thing is, it wasn't Dylan. She did
Right, and I think it
clearly
was
remembers it wasn't
also,
Dylan.
Christian's mom's friend who was kinda staking out the apartment for them. She also saw somebody else leaving that apartment that day. I don't know who
And
that was, but
yeah, I'm not
she
sure who
saw
that was,
and it
but
wasn't
yeah.
Dylan, so we do know there was someone else there that day. I mean, I'm thinking there might have been multiple people, you know? Could not
Oh,
necessarily just
absolutely.
those 2. But
Absolutely.
again, I do think it possibly is tied back to some of the individuals that were shooting guns that day, because that whole scenario is too hush hush. Like I said, if I was still being harassed all these years later and I had nothing to do with it, I would be naming off every person that was there that night, because it took them forever to say what's his name, Zach
Yeah.
or whatever, and now
Zach.
do it took them forever to come out with the names of the other people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why are you
And
keeping it such a secret?
I promise you, if my friends are pulling me into something crazy, I'm gonna be like, so this is where we were at 9 o'clock. We were here at 9:05. This is where we
Mhm.
were at 9:10.
This is who was
I'm gonna have
there. This is what
like
they did.
the,
Um,
I am going to have every detail for you. I'm not.
exactly.
I don't want
Not
any part
losing
of
my
this.
life, no.
Hell
The only
no.
thing that I thought about was perhaps that many of them don't remember, as they were all high on drugs and drinking alcohol. I mean, when you mix that stuff, it messes with the brain. So maybe they genuinely don't remember everything, or, I'm not sure. I just find that particular night so odd, because everyone has such a differing story. And
They
in
all
the
have
very
these.
beginning, it was very quiet. Shh, don't tell anybody about it.
Yes,
So,
and the text messages between Whitley and Matt later on are just fucking insane. So on
mhm,
um the on March 1st. Now remember this happens on February 26th, right?
mhm,
And Whitley is texting Matt at 11 a.m. and back and forth. But then on March 1st, Whitley to Matt. This is Whitley. What are you doing? Whitley to Matt. I
mhm,
feel like you're avoiding me. March
mhm,
3rd, Whitley to Matt. Hey, because I had gunshot residue on my hands from us shooting guns, and they asked who it was, you're not a suspect. They already declared it to be suicide because they know by the ballistics test what kind of gun that was shot and what
yep,
time the gunpowder uh, on Christian's hands. Now, remember the gunshot residue tests were not finished and released until March 31st, but that was what
right.
she said to him on March the 3rd.
I get this feeling like she may be like a perpetual liar.
You think?
She says things in the moment to manipulate the situation to suit her needs. So she's telling him, "Oh, don't worry, they already got the ballistics, blah blah blah." But even if they did, they weren't released to her, and they weren't released to anybody until the 31st. So I highly doubt she had any educated information at that time. It was more, let me just tell this guy whatever so he doesn't freak out on me.
Well, and then so on March the 3rd, she continues to text Matt Miller.
Mm,
And Whitley says, when did they question you? Matt said they didn't. His family did. Whitley said, what did they say? Matt tells her, saying that it wasn't suicide. I better pray I wasn't behind it. Like I always get caught up in shit because of you. Whitley, I'm getting threatened too, but I
mm,
can't help it. That's not even the issue to me. The issue is that he's gone and there's no way it was a homicide. either because he was shot in the side of the head. I didn't even know till yesterday, and I didn't have his kind of gunpowder on my hands. This is March the 3rd. The gunshot residue test, once again, wasn't finished and released until March 31st. Um, and Matt says, "Well, I'm sorry he's gone, but I didn't talk to him or nothing, and now I've been pulled into it." Um, she said, Whitley says, "Because I shot guns with you the night before he shot himself, Matt." Whitley also told Matt that she found Christian in the bathroom, right? So
I remember that.
On March 4th, um, Matt asked her, "Did you find Christian or did Dylan?" And Whitley says, "Dylan." Matt said, "Well, you told me you woke up to
Mm,
a gunshot and you found him." Whitley said, "No, Dylan found him, told me, and I found him."
right.
Matt says, "Your story has changed so much." She said, "What?" Matt says, "So where was he shot? You told me something completely different." Whitley said, "His head. I didn't even know where he was shot when it happened because it didn't go through. I just found that
Mm,
out. How did I do that?" Matt says, "You told me y'all fell asleep together and you woke up to a gunshot and you ran upstairs and found him. You said nothing about Dylan. You said you found him, Whitley." Whitley tells
mm,
him, "Dylan didn't even go upstairs. Dylan told me to check on him. I did, and he was dead." Matt tells her, "Dylan said he found him, but you told the police a whole different story." Whitley, "You're trying to say I'm guilty." Matt, "Fuck, I don't know. Nobody knows. Why would he kill himself? Everybody's trying to find out." Whitley, "Wish I could tell you." Matt, "Yeah." Like this whole text
It just makes
conversation.
no sense though why she would. I mean, clearly it means that her and Dylan didn't get their story straight at the time.
But
Um,
then March, I can't remember the date on this one, but it was like a day later. It was like the next day. Whitley to Matt. This is what she texts Matt. "My story did change because I didn't want to make you feel bad. You have to consider I've been through more than I should have with all of this. um I was cleared as a suspect and I was ruled out, and it was ruled as a suicide. Did anyone stop to think my whole entire life ended by finding what I did in the bathtub from one night of fucking up? I'm not saying this because I want to
right.
get his with you just to clear stuff up." Whitley to Matt, "Life's too short, smoke one."
Oh wow.
Um Now Todd Andreacchio says he trusts none of these text messages because Dylan
Absolutely
and
not.
Whitley were in possession of the phone for this whole amount of time before it was turned over. The DA, however, states the phone was on the tugboat with Christian at the time that those messages were sent. So
Those are,
but
you're
the thing is,
talking about the ones where.
you can manipulate
So
on
you're
back.
you're talking about his messages to Whitley, right?
Yes,
Christian and Whitley before his
yes.
death. Well,
Now,
yeah,
what's
no, I
even more
wondered about that.
odd, like you could actually go in and change a whole ton of shit on those phones, like
Right. Well,
change
there's
names,
texting
dates,
apps and
times.
like if you go in your, I know I could go into my iPhone and I could set your name and a number or whatever. Like I could make your name come up
Mhm.
as your a different number or something and make it
Yeah.
really appear. But I don't know, were these phone records pulled by law enforcement? Probably not, right? So these were
That I'm not
just
100. No, this is the stuff that the Andriacchios have actually had to do on their own.
okay. So
Um,
because I mean, obviously, well, maybe those investigators were able to pull phone records. I don't know.
well, and the
Um,
thing is so
guess we
Christian's
would
phone
know if it came from his phone if records were pulled. So
now, but the time of death was determined at 3:30, right? Or earlier. But Christian's phone was active
I don't
again
know
at
because didn't the phone
3:44.
call? Well, yeah, maybe. But so if the time of death is 3:30, why didn't the phone call come until 4:44? They were just he was at Best
That's
Buy that long? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was talking about speakers the whole time.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is his time of death was determined to be approximately 3:30, maybe earlier, but Christian's phone was actually active again at 3:44. From 3:44 p.m. to 3:54 p.m., Christian's phone was used to call Matt Miller 6 times, and again, his phone was used at 5:11 p.m. Then from 4:48 p.m. to 4:55 p.m., two unknown numbers were called. One actually turned out to be a super close friend of Dylan's, and the other turned out to be Dylan's mom.
Yeah,
What
I
the
highly
hell?
doubt Christian's gonna call Dylan's mom. Um,
Yeah,
Pretty sure that's not
especially
a
while
thing.
he's already dead.
Well, yeah, but even for any off chance he wasn't, he wouldn't be calling. Why would he call Dylan's mom? Um, I'm gonna tattle on you to your mom. I don't know.
Yeah,
It makes no sense. So no, they were using the phone. They're panicked. They probably murdered him. They're panicked. They're using his phone, not thinking about the fact that it's his phone, and just calling people. You know.
yeah.
I'm not. I'm very tossed. I don't know if I want to completely say like Matt is part of it all, but it is peculiar that she continued on a situation with him, whether it was relationship or situation or whatever
Well,
they were doing.
now remember, Matt's not the one that brought the lawsuit against the
Yeah, Vet
Andreacchios
did.
with
So that
Whitley.
was his
It was
cousin
Jet
Vet. So yeah,
Miller who was, I think, consistently banging Whitley.
maybe.
Yeah. Um, there, God, and and then there's all the
Possibly,
different.
possibly. Yeah.
Girl, there's just so much, and like I said, this is not. I mean, this is going to be like multiple parts because we're just now getting into like the where the differences of what the family is getting told by the police, and then they're like, no, this is impossible, this is bullshit, this is wrong. So they, obviously they've hired their own outside, and the differences between what these experts versus these small town Meridian
Mhm.
cops who are like, yeah, this is what happened.
Yeah.
None of
Right.
them, they don't add up. But now in verbatim, verbatim, okay, um, there is a statement that was made by the detective. Now, so this new detective comes in and he's like, yeah, this is bullshit, right? Jay
Mhm.
Arrington, his
Mhm.
statement, this is what Jay Arrington said, it's homicide. Peter Van Zant off of the show says, are you sure of that? Jay Arrington says, absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, so now you actually have a detective at one point who says, no, this is bullshit. And so next week, we're going to go into talking about how, uh, obviously, more in depth on the law enforcement's lack of interest. And then this new detective coming on the scene, um, and start really diving into like the differences between what the forensic, says or what all the evidence shows versus what the police are saying. And then on top of that, uh, the battle between the fact that someone completely victimized Christian again, and the fight that once again the Andreacchi has caught themselves in and trying to protect their son's dignity that's already
Mhm.
been stripped away. So all of that will come in the part three. Also having our guest next week, and I'm super excited to have her on
Yes,
because
can't wait.
I know I'm super
She
excited.
sits
I feel like
close
she's
to
gonna
the
really
situation,
bring
yeah.
some. I think
Yeah,
she's really gonna
clarity.
bring a
Mhm.
different light to it and a little bit more
Mhm.
because she is very close. Her and Ray are extremely close, and just the fact that I want to say that there's multiple times and multiple different shows that I've listened to or that I've watched, and the one thing that sticks with me is when Ray is talking about when you lose a child, you join a club that no one wants to be in, but
Mhm.
when you have a child that was murdered, it's even smaller club that you don't you definitely don't want to be in. And to
Yeah.
hear the pain in that woman's voice and to know that she's been let down by everyone in this town, um and the whole family has, his friends, his family have all been let down. It, it's gut wrenching. You and I had this conversation. It's like
Mhm.
going into it. You know, when I first listened to it the very first time on the first ever show, um, I kind of, because I went into it and was like, I'm gonna go in unbiased. I'm not gonna have any preconceived notions. And
Right.
so, of course, I listened to what the mom says and, what
Mhm.
Ray says. And then when we listened to it again after hearing and doing all these hours upon hours of research, um, it was, I heard it differently.
Right.
It came across differently. This is a mom who is a family and a mom who is absolutely fighting with everything that she
Yeah.
has to get justice in a place that this shouldn't even be a fucking question.
I just feel like too, as a mom, you just know. You just know. There's just certain things that are undeniable. Like you would
Exactly.
know if your child hurt themselves or whether it was murder or whatever the situation. You would know. You'd feel it, you know? So,
Exactly. And I want to hmm, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. When you have trash like what obviously has been here in this situation, um, it's eye opening to see how people will turn against you or how little people will stand up for what's right. And honestly, I think that that is one of the biggest things that blows my mind um,
mhm.
in all of this because the family has endured so much at the hands of Whitley and Dylan's and Jet Miller's family.
Just all of
Um,
them,
yeah,
all of
just all
anybody
of
that's
them.
involved in this, any of them that know anything, they need to just be done with it. If you had some part of it, take the consequences. But it's just sickening, Um, yeah. So um,
I just this one has been
hopefully,
this is another one that's absolutely kind of been a little bit of an emotional roller coaster to like go through it and read it and really and truly like see what this family's going through. But um I would like to
this.
say in all of that, in closing, I have a picture that
Mhm.
I would love to kindly
What I want to know
show.
before I put this picture up is what a year is this being said in? What
Fairly
year? Huh?
the post or the picture.
The post of the that's
That
what we're
was
looking at, right? The
I believe
post?
that was yeah. No, well look at the picture underneath it.
Well, yeah, it's all together. Let's
That's
see.
him.
Oh wait, hold on. Let me see here.
That is a screenshot of um his profile
Oh
and
god.
then
Okay. I just wondered what year it is. The only reason is I'm going to put it up
oh, it's
here and
current. It's current.
okay, cuz God has been laying me out blessings like an all you can eat buffet.
Now, this is off of Swearingen's Facebook, right? But this picture
Mm,
underneath it, that is Dylan Swearingen passed out in someone's front yard on fentanyl. So, I mean, they seem like good folks.
yeah. Ooh, I wonder. Yeah, no, I don't wonder. I
I'm just, I figured that would be a good one to close the show out with to show
mm,
just
just
what
shows
kind of
character.
people. I mean, realistically, of what kind of people they really are. We have a montage of Shitley mugshots that span from Mississippi to Florida. Um,
I just have a few of
she's
them up here.
yeah,
But I think we just really need to close the show with one photo what this is all about. There is one.
absolutely
Yeah, and that one right there.
yes, because that's
Uh,
what this is all about. It's
Yep.
getting justice for Christian and Christian's family
Yep.
and friends.
Mhm.
And next week, like I said, we're gonna have a guest on here. I'm super excited about it. Um,
Yes.
but we're gonna pick up and we're gonna really dive into and we're gonna do a lot of Q&A on the next one because I really want to get her take on a lot of it.
Right.
I really do. I think it will be. I think we'll all kind of align in the same way. But
Mm,
as for now, if you haven't heard of Christian Andreacchio, I do think that you should most definitely go do some research and
and head
go
over
back to
to
our
our
first
episode
episode
one. Yeah.
on YouTube and catch up and watch it. I think that it'll be extremely eye opening for anyone. And do your own research. Go into it, like we did. Go into it clear and unbiased. And I think that anybody could agree that there's no way at all this could be a suicide. So,
Mm.
um, with that being said, thank you all for being here for another episode of Cocktails and Crimes. We'll be back next week with part 3 with a special guest. And please go check out my friend Anne at Lost Common Sense and
Hmm.
her show Unexplained Realms. And we'll have all of the merch listed. So go subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter.
We'll throw
And
the
like I said,
links up there and you can
TikTok
click
is coming
and
next. And we'll also have our website launched completely in the
and
next.
soon you will be able to buy merch right here live in the show. We'll have QR codes and links, whatnot, down the road. So give us
Yes.
time. We're getting there.
We're
So,
working on it. Where there's
yep.
a list of things. You can also
Mm,
listen to us if you don't have time to watch or you would like to just catch up on past episodes. You can also catch us on anywhere that has podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google,
Amazon Music.
iHeartRadio, Amazon
Yes,
Music.
we are on iHeartRadio, guys. Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple, like you
Yes.
said. Yeah.
So, and a huge shout out to our other host, Elaine. We love you and we missed you so much, and
Bye.
we are ready for you to be back. But, ladies and gentlemen, catch us next week on Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for part 3 of Christian Andreacchio's case. And y'all have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.